Welcome back to another video. I'm Justin Arnberg. Joined along with me today is Cristian of the Second Looks podcast channel. And listen, it's the mock season in the NHL. Even though the Stanley Cup playoffs are happening, we are aware that in just over a month, the NHL draft is happening in LA, where some of the top prospects are going to hear their names called. So, without further ado, I want to get into today's draft. How are you feeling about the draft, by the way, Christian?
You know what? As someone who follows the Leafs most closely, this is a year where I don't think about the draft much at all, but good distraction now that I don't have to worry about the Toronto side of things. So I can't say I haven't enjoyed looking into the draft a bit more closely now. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, the 2025 NHL draft is the most wide open draft we've seen in like the last, I don't know, decade, it feels like, where even the number one overall pick isn't a slam dunk guaranteed that he's going to go number one. Like, it just doesn't feel that way to me, and it feels so wide open from picks one until pick, what, 221 or 222 in the draft. Like, it's so wide open, the fact, like, you can go like there is clear groups, I want to say, where you could go from group 1 through 8, and those prospects are kind of very close to each other, and then you could take the next group and be like 8 to 20 or 9 to 24, and those group of prospects are also very close to each other. So it's not a huge difference, and it makes for a very entertaining draft. And listen, I know we're about to do it, but we're only going to do the top 10 for right now. As we get closer to the draft, we'll probably do the full round eventually. But right now, it's just going to be the top 10 because even the draft order isn't just fully set yet. We do know picks
I
1
mean,
to
some of these guys
28.
are still playing hockey too, right? Like, there's
Exactly.
still games to affect these rankings.
Yes, exactly. One being Caleb Deharnay, who's playing for the Moncton Wildcats right now and going to the Memorial Cup. So, like you said, a lot of interesting prospects on the move here. And you can either climb or you can sink in those final games of the season because, listen, that's what every scout knows you off of the best, your final game of the season. That's their final impression of you. So, without further ado, let's jump into the draft, okay? So, the first overall pick is the New York Islanders. Who do you have going here?
So you went off the top and you're like, there's no slam dunk even at number one. And, I think when I first saw that draft lottery order come out, that's kind of what I told myself too. I'm like, oh my God, they might trade it. They might go in this direction, that direction. I'm simplifying here and I am saying it is a slam dunk. Don't overthink it, New York Islanders. Take Matthew Schaefer. I think he does have the slightest edge to me as the number one guy in the draft. I know, like we're saying, like Michael Misa, some other names, mostly Misa, you'd argue, can maybe go at one. But I'm going to stick with Schaefer to the Islanders, and I know they have Dobson. You could have that as a potential pairing in the future. Lefty righty, the handedness works. Or there has been the Dobson buzz. Really like in the beginning of this year, and I mean now they don't even have a GM, so who knows what that GM A thinks of Dobson, B thinks of this draft. I wonder how much that's maybe part of the
Yeah.
GM process is. What are you thinking at number one? But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I think with the Islanders, they're coming from a position that the prospect pool is about as shallow as it can get. Just add the best guy, figure out the rest later. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take Matthew Schaefer number one.
Okay. I'm gonna shock you here with mine because this is why I was saying it's not a slam dunk for me at number one. My first overall pick for the New York Islanders is James Higgins. Okay, I I the reason being, and we talked about this off camera, is the teams. Like, are we drafting for just best overall players, or are we drafting for the teams? And I truly think that the New York Islanders management is going to look at James Hagan as the hometown kid who's been a top three prospect all season long. It's not like you're dropping off that much, and they're going to say, okay, we can get an elite center at this position who can help the offensive game for the next 10 to 15 years, who might not leave us in free agency at some point, right? You know what I mean? Like
You're not
that.
liking two of the kids that are from maybe Southern Ontario here.
Exactly.
All
So
right.
I can see the New York Islanders going James Higgins instead. And like I said, he might not be looked at coming into the year. He was looked at as the number one prospect. Like everyone had him
Yeah.
as the number one prospect. He kind of fell throughout the year, but at the end of the day, he's still a top 3 prospect in this draft. So I can see the New York Islanders really taking a good deep dive into everyone and coming into the conclusion of James Higgins is the guy for us at the end of the day.
I'm gonna give you this small, just not even counterpunch, but before we move on, I'll just say this: if you're looking in your crystal ball, is there a world where James Hagan is a New York Islander at the end of the draft? I can see it. I think my only thing is I can't see it with the Islanders at the number one pick. I think if we're in the
Hmm.
Hagan's Islanders reality, it's because there was a trade. But
Hmm.
I think that match is something that could potentially happen. I just don't think it happens if the Islanders keep the number one pick.
Hmm. No, no, no. That's a good point. Like they could trade back from the number one pick and just because you could add another asset and then go get Higgins as well because Misa's probably going ahead of Higgins and Schaefer's probably going ahead of Higgins. Like I said, those are the two prospects that are better to me, but at the end of the day, we're talking about team fit here, not just best overall player. That has to be a factor when you think about everything here. Moving on to the second overall pick, the San Jose Sharks. I'll let you go first again. Who do you got?
I say you go first here, man. I'm yielding it to you, buddy. Come
All
on.
right. Well, now it just makes sense. Matthew Schaefer has to go number 2 to the San Jose Sharks in my draft. Um, if Higgins goes 1, Schaefer has to be the second overall pick. San Jose, they don't need another forward. They have a strong number 1 and 2 center duo in the making in Will Smith, who they drafted in 2023, fourth overall, and Macklin Celebrini, who they drafted first overall in the 2024 draft. So Matthew Schaefer adds to that decor that already is being built as well with Sam Dickinson of the London Knights, who's playing terrific right now. Probably the second best CHL player this season, to be honest, behind Gavin McKenna. And yeah, like I would say that decor not only becomes it becomes like a franchise pairing. I was going to say like Sam Dickinson and Matthew Schaefer become a potential franchise pairing for this organization. You get your number 1 and 2 defensemen in the first 2 years of your draft or your first or sorry, you get your number 1 and number 2 defensemen in back-to-back years of your drafting, and then you also have your 2 centers to go along with it, and you can just build your team from there. That's probably the best case scenario for them. I think if Higgins goes 1, it's a dream scenario for the San Jose Sharks because they get Matthew Schaefer.
I definitely think that's correct. Like San Jose, top of their draft list is 100% Matthew Schaefer. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't. That being said, in my world here, where Matthew Schaefer does go number 1, I'm gonna double down on just best forward available here. To me, it is Michael Misa, not James Hagan, as my number 1 forward in this draft. And really, I think I know it's like you already have so many forwards. I know everyone says like Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, also William Eklund's. Like this
Yeah,
guy's
William
also
Eklund. Yeah,
really good and really young still.
they have
And so
so
you got
many
to
young prospects as well coming up.
absolutely, yeah, the guys that aren't even on the Sharks roster yet. So this is another one where I'm saying don't overthink it, but at the same time, I think that the play style difference between Celebrini and Misa makes it enticing enough to kind of quadruple down on high skilled forwards at the top of the lineup. And
And
you know, there's some teams where I actually like going like kind of like duplication, like getting 2 guys in your organization that are kind of the same to kind of build like a team identity.
yeah,
This one is where I feel like Celebrini's got more of that shiftiness, bit slighter in terms of frame. Misa's a little bit larger, and he's just like a bona fide stud at the center position. Having that 1-2 combo, that no matter what, whenever you send out a top 6 line, one of those guys are
hmm
on the ice. That's really enticing to me.
yeah, like that is like only to compare is it's gonna be like Austin Matthews and John Tavares here for like the last 7 years. Like what you're getting out of your top 6 guys. Like they're gonna be elite centermen that are gonna step onto the ice. And I'll just add to your point. I know I said Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini. You got your number one and number two centers already, but last year they did play Will Smith at the wing a fair bit, so he could very easily slide over the wing, and Misa could take that number two center spot. That's the only thing I can really add to that. But yeah, moving on to number three, the Chicago Blackhawks. For me, it's got to be Michael Misa. If I have Hagens one, Schaefer two, Misa has to be three. This has to be the pick that helps Bedard. Listen, it's all about making the team better at this point. It's for every team, but especially for the Chicago Blackhawks, and they need offense. They need offense bad. They have no one helping Connor Bedard other than the fact of on offense, Frank Nazar looked pretty well this season, or pretty good this season in his rookie season. But still, it wasn't good enough, and you really need your number two center here to solidify this forward group going forward and draw some free agents. That's what the thing is. They need to draw some big ticket free agents at the same time. So yeah, I have Michael Misa going three here. Obviously, the CHL's or the OHL's leading scorer had 67 goals, I believe, this season. So he was ridiculous this season. So expect that to translate over to the NHL. But yeah, who do you have at number three?
Yeah, it's round out top three. It's the three names that we both have just in different orders here. I will take Hagens at number three. And so
Mm-hmm.
the argument I made about San Jose, where it's like, I like the difference in play style between Celebrini and Misa.
Yeah.
This is where I'm kind of swinging in the other direction, where Hagens and Bedard both have that game breaking skill. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was the number one thing that surprised people, not surprised people, but impressed them about Hagens this year. That kind of showcase he had at the World Juniors. Like, he really had that takeover ability on the biggest stage
Mm-hmm.
in his draft year. And his speed too is honestly, that is probably a separation between him and Bedard. We already have the Bedard quotes coming into the offseason about wanting to work on the skating. Well, I mean, Hagens doesn't need much work there at all. And
Yeah.
this is one where, as much as you want a running mate for Connor Bedard, and in the form of a line mate, I almost think that Chicago can't go wrong drafting someone who directly takes the spotlight off Bedard when he's not on the ice. I think kind of stacking on the Bedard line right away just puts more pressure on that line to get it done and doesn't give you much else. By having Hagens, you can kind of build two parallel units instead of the same unit. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of Bedard, Hagens, different handedness. Seems like a match made in heaven on the power play in terms of playmaker. Hagens, Bedard can maybe be more of a shoot first type of guy, but they've both got it all, and I think that would be a really really good combo in Chicago.
Yeah, listen, I don't think you can go wrong with any prospect. The only thing I can add, and on Hagens, I wanted to bring up the fact, the one thing that is concerning to me, and that's unique about this draft, and why Schaefer could go number one is the fact he only played 17 games this season and injured himself with a broken collarbone at the World Juniors. Now, don't get me wrong, he looked terrific in those 17 games in the OHL. He looked terrific through Canada's first game. He looked like the Canada's best
It's their
player.
best player.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, he only played 17 games and he's been injured for like the last three, or I guess 4 months now. So it's definitely an interesting, like, this guy could go first overall without playing the last 4 months of his draft.
I
But
would say
move
too, there's other guys in here with injury concerns,
exactly
and you
like
maybe don't think the same way. Where it's like with Schaefer, almost because you saw him less, but he performed so good in that small amount of time,
yeah.
it's almost like there's like a mystique to it. We're just like,
Hmm.
man, that little bit that we saw was so good,
Yeah,
and you don't doubt it. Maybe
craving
there's some other
more.
guys where that's not the case. I think we'll get to that.
So moving on to the number four pick, this is Utah moving up from 14 to 4 in the draft lottery. I have Caleb Dayone. I think he is the fourth best prospect in this. I feel like he's been climbing all season long. Watching his game with the Moncton Wildcats, he just continues to impress me. I'll go to you though with your fourth overall pick here.
We are going to defer here. I am going to go with local boy Porter Martone. I think that
Ooh, okay.
I think that the fit in Utah is too good to pass up on from the stylistic point of, I mean, just look at like who carries water in Utah right now. The big three is Logan Cooley, Clayton Keller, Dylan Genther. Skill, 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 skill. And skill isn't something that Porter Martone's lacking, but he does bring the size that you don't really get with those other three. And I think
Hmm.
getting him into that mix, it kind of gives you so many looks that you really can't go wrong. If you're throwing two of those guys on the ice at any different time, I feel really, really good in Utah about that. And I think, really it's after Porter Martone, if you're looking for that quintessential power forward, there's not really anyone that you can even argue gets close to it with what Martone
Yes.
brings. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of unique ability in this draft maybe gives him a slight bump up to that 4th spot.
Yeah. I understand what you're going for there. I can vouch for that.
I am curious, though,
Porter
like with
Martone,
Desnoyers, though, what you're saying
he
as well.
would
I kind of want to hear your case for him.
he would be to me like he is very strong. Like on the ice to me he feels very strong. He feels very much two-way, and he feels like while like he didn't put up the points that you might like say, "Oh, this is impressive for like a fourth overall pick this year." It was more so his actual game, like his actual puck sense, like his actual thinking of on the ice that impressed me the most. Like in terms of the way he actually thinks the game. It felt like he was not an 18-year-old out there. Like it felt like he was an
It's a
overager
mature
in the
game.
sea.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's what kind of interests me. And don't get me wrong, Porter Martone might have more skill, but I do think Caleb Desnoyers has the game breaker ability and talent to change over a game. Like we see it here in the playoffs. Like he took his game to another level in the
Yeah.
QMJHL playoffs, and the Moncton Wildcats walk away with the QMJHL title in Gardner McDougall's first year. That's a different video for another day because that guy needs a head coaching job. But listen, like when I watch Caleb Desnoyers, I get the sense like he understands the game a lot better than any prospect.
Coach's dream type of guy, huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and he has the skill. Like it's not like he's lacking the skill. It's just like he's not going to risk all. I can all like the best way I could put it is like he's not always going to risk making a play. He's always going to make the smart play, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And we mentioned it off the top in terms of still got games to play in the mem, right?
Yes.
So, and I really don't know if there's any world where he's going to bring his stock down. I think it can only go up if he has an incredible tournament, to be honest. So, I
Yeah.
don't know if he can penetrate that top 3. It feels pretty ironclad, but honestly, I hope he proves me wrong for just some more entertainment in the draft.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to number 5 here, the Nashville Predators. I am going a little bit array here. I'm going to take Jake O'Brien. Okay, from the OHL, from the Brantford Bulldogs. Listen, the kid's 6'2". He's 17 years old right now. Turns 18 in June. Um, I I just love what I've seen from his game this year. Watching the tape on him, and 32 goals, 66 assists for 98 points in the OHL this year. Um, I like the size here. Like I love the fit of the size. I like the fact that like I don't know if Ryan O'Reilly's going to be around like for a very long time, but I love the fact of
Yeah.
like the size and the fit there in Nashville, where you go big down the middle. That's kind of the vibe
Getting
I'm
to
getting.
learn from Ryan O'Reilly, and then
Yes,
you can still pick the brain of Steven Stamkos, who might not play
exactly.
center right now, but he's got a lot of experience that he can probably teach you
Yeah.
a thing or two about playing at center. Um, I do love that pick. I will say, of all the like just watching tape on all these guys, Jake O'Brien probably impressed me the most from what I was expecting going in versus what I came away with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like his tape
I
his
can't deny
tape is
that.
like elevates himself. Like it's a
And
different
yeah, and you know what it is too? It's the size, but do you know how much he weighs?
yeah, I forget at the moment, but I have him
He's
up
he's
here.
170.
It's
So
yeah,
like
it's not
but that I
yeah.
like that's a good thing in the sense that you get him in an NHL weight room, you get him on an
Yeah.
NHL like nutrition program. That 170 maybe turns into a 190 by 12 months from now, and I think you feel really good about his size. Because I will say, having watching the tape before looking at just his physical attributes,
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't have told you he was 6'2". I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed maybe 6 flat, to be honest.
I would have
So
said I would have said between 6 and 6'2", but I wouldn't have like looking at
he
him.
doesn't play
He
a heavy
doesn't.
game. He doesn't look like
Yeah,
a 6'2" player. He
he doesn't
doesn't.
look like a 6'2" player, and he doesn't look like he's 170 even on the
But
ice too.
NHL teams will look at that as we can
Yes,
fill
we
this
can
guy out
yeah,
and
we
we'll make him
can
a beast.
exactly get him in the
I
weight
yeah,
room.
he might be
So
my like prospect crush of the draft. I won't lie. I won't lie. I have opted for Desnoyers here at 5 to Nashville for some of the reasons that you outlined just in terms of his game, but then the fit is to me that Ryan O'Reilly factor in terms of Caleb Desnoyers maybe being able to emulate that when he sees it up close. Honestly, talking through with you, maybe I would take Jake O'Brien here at 5. I will stick with what I have originally decided. I'll put Desnoyers at 5. But man, I could I could definitely put O'Brien here too. That's fair.
yeah, yeah. So I like the top five here. You had Schaefer number one, or Schaefer number one. You had Misa number two. You had Hagens number three. You
Correct.
had Porter number
Martone at
four,
4.
and you had Desnoyers at five. I had Hagens at one, Schaefer at two, Misa at three, Desnoyers at four, and Jake O'Brien at five. Moving into the second half of the top 10 right now, Philadelphia Flyers. Okay, the Philadelphia Flyers need help offensively. You have a wonderful, wonderful talent in Matej Michkov. You have a new head coach in Rick Tocchet. Now you need some more offensive firepower. If that doesn't give it away, I'm going big down the middle once again. Anton Fondell. I forget the country right at the moment. I think it's Sweden off the top of my
He
head. I
is
can't
Swedish.
remember.
He
Yes,
plays
that's what I
for
thought.
Djurgårdens.
Yes. I was I blanked on his country.
You know what it is? It's the
there
fact
first.
that Anton Lundell is in the NHL and
Yes.
he's Finnish.
Yes, yeah.
While Anton Frondell is Swedish. So
Yeah.
I get it.
But yes, I love his game. While I could see this is where I could see Jake O'Brien or Anton Frondell swapping picks here, and going number 5 and 6 back to back. It just being like who goes which one, because both have size, both are going to be big NHL centermans, and both have amazing skill. But yeah, that's my 6th overall pick. What about you?
We're in lockstep on this one. First time in the top 10. I also have Frondell here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the number one thing that comes to mind with Frondell, like when you look at like all of the scouting reports on him, is the shot, like potentially saying best shot of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I actually feel like I prefer the release of Jake O'Brien, to be honest. But man, Frondell is definitely right there, and there's a lot of like not boomer bust talk with him, but there's been Jekyll and Hyde play from him this year.
So he definitely is the one prospect that like isn't.
This is the one that everyone's arguing over.
Yeah, because he's the one that like to like it's harder with him because he's playing in a pro league in Sweden, where he's not going to put up the big points that these guys are putting up in the CHL, right? Like he's playing
Definitely,
more of
but
a man's game.
So he put up, I believe it is 25 points in 29 games
Yes,
in the
11
Allsvenskan,
goals.
which is like, yeah, and that's like the tier 2 league so that's the AHL of Sweden, if you want to
Yes.
call it that.
Yeah.
Okay, that is better in terms of point per game rate than William Nylander and David Pasternak in their draft years. So that sounds very, very, very enticing. The thing that scouts talk about though is that he hasn't shown up at the big international tournaments and qualification time, because that's how it is in Sweden, right? So Djurgårdens earned a promotion to the Swedish Hockey League for next year, and in that qualification round he had 7 points in 16 games, which is the exact same as maybe his teammate that we'll get to at some point in this top 10. So he didn't really elevate, and I think some scouts might make the argument he's not the best draft eligible guy on his team. So
Yes.
that's kind of where
The, what
the not controversy, but that's the argument either
what's
way.
carrying him is the fact that he's a 6'5" centerman right now. That is the thing that's
Yeah,
carrying him up this draft board, because that's the thing that everyone loves. Like, everyone looks at that. Like, to me, I'm not gonna say like it's the full comparison, but a quarterback and a centerman are kind of in the same realm. Like, they go ahead of some wingers because they're centermen, just for the sole reason of their centerman, and they're bigger, and it's more valuable to get a elite centerman compared to a winger. So yes, I have Frondell here going at 6. I mean, we're in lockstep here, so that's good to know. We both agree that they they don't need skill right now. They need they need a big centerman that
they
has
need
skill,
dynamite though.
but
Yeah, yeah.
they need someone that has.
They can take this risk because they got Jack Luchenko last draft
Yes,
as well, like where he
yes,
feels like more of a set it and forget it. He's probably a top two center. And if Anton Frondel hits full potential, he jumps Luchenko, becomes the number one guy, and then you have your running mate for Michkov.
yeah. So number 7, Boston Bruins. This is where I have Porter Martone going. You talk about skill. Obviously, the guy has arguably one of the biggest skill sets in the draft, probably the biggest, to be honest. The skill is definitely not lacking on Porter Martone. But I have him going 7 here because that's where I think it actually fits with the team, and the fact that they need a skilled winger. I don't think he's going to play centerman in his NHL career. I think he's going to move to the wing, and I think this is where you can really get a value pick. Like, first, I would say first value pick of the draft in Porter Martone, going to the Boston Bruins at number 7 overall. I mean, like, realistically, it might be a steal of the draft when looking back at it if he falls to 7. So
Yeah,
I think that's a very good value pick.
if you're doing team fit, like that is like Porter Martone screams Boston Bruin through and through. I I have a bit of a zag here. It's a name that we've already mentioned. And I'm going to preface it by saying the reason I think they go in this direction is because they tried to draft a Boston Bruins identity guy last year, and it was at the back end of the
Hmm.
first round. So like different scenario in that sense. But they drafted Dean Letourneau, who's a giant. I couldn't tell you his exact height. He's bigger than 6'5". I think it might be like 6'7",
Hmm.
and I think he was playing at a prep school. This year he made the jump to NCAA. He had 3 points, no goals in 36 games.
Yeah.
Tough look for the Boston Bruins drafting the Boston Bruins identity guy. And Dean Letourneau and Porter Martone, very different conversations, but I'm going to have the Bruins zag, and here's where I think Jake O'Brien goes. And my God, I really hope it doesn't happen. Because I would like to
Yes.
maybe look at Jake O'Brien's
Yeah.
career in
Yeah. Yeah.
a bit more of a fonder light. But to me, if you're the Bruins, this is exactly where you say, screw the identity. We're going to build a new one. Jake O'Brien doesn't really have a guy to look up to maybe down the center in Boston, but he becomes the
Lindholm.
guy.
You have Lindholm.
Lindholm, sure, but
And
like Jake
if
O'Brien is just the guy. Like he can
yeah, yeah.
be
Yes.
the running mate for David Pastrnak and just be on every poster in Boston. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't need a role model in Boston, honestly.
Yeah. I like the pick. I think that, like, both, if you go Martone or Jacob Bryan there, like, it's wonderful picks either way. But yeah. Okay, moving on to number 8 to Seattle. I think you're gonna go forward here. I'm going defenseman, and I don't really want to butcher his name, but redeem. It's Murtia. I don't.
Murtka? I think
Murka.
Murtka.
Murka. Redeem
Yeah.
Murka.
Find out in
Sorry
a
if I.
month's time when
Yes,
they
sorry
say
if I
his name.
butchered his name. Redeem Murka. I'm going with that for right now. But listen, this guy is a monster on defense. And like, I know we talked about this off camera. The defense of this draft isn't really screaming like top 10 right now. This is the only pick in terms of team sense that makes sense for me, because you already have Matty Beniers, you already have Shane Wright. You're trying to
This is Buffalo here.
no, number 8. This
Oh, it
is
was 8?
Seattle. This is Seattle.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So we have Buffalo at number 9 and Anaheim at 10. Seattle at 8 right now. I see them going Redeem Merca just for the sole sense that they don't have a strong decor outside of Brandon Montour right now. They signed Brandon Montour. They do have a young up and coming core, but it's not star studded and it's not looking like it's going to be the best. So if you bring in a guy like Radim Merca, who can be a shutdown defenseman on the back end, I really think that's going to help them. But yeah, that's my number 8 pick right now. Uh,
Yep.
you could convince me to move him down, and I would not say you're wrong. I solely don't think it's not because he is the 8th best player in this draft. I just think team fit for this one makes the most sense. And when I say like they have Seattle's D, it's Riker Evans, who's the youngest one who's coming up right now, who looks decent, and then you have Vince Dunn, Adam Larson, and Brandon Montour, who are a little bit older. So yes, the youngins need to start coming to Seattle here on the back end.
You know what? I know you said we're gonna take forward here, but I did have a change of heart. And some things when they're obvious, it's for a reason. And I am gonna go with Murtka here. I am gonna go with Murtka because you know what? Seattle can see them in their backyard as well with the Thunderbirds. And I think for all the reasons you outlined, this is a spot that makes too much sense for this
Mm,
match. And I think you can be this obvious and just be this simple after really
yeah.
hitting it out of the park with Berkeley Cadden last year. I think
Yes.
that really
Yes.
makes this an easier pick.
Yes, exactly. It definitely does. Berkeley Cotton, if you don't know, led the WHL in playoff points, led the CHL in playoff points as well. So he's just yes, he's turning
Might be all
into
right.
great pick from last year, just a wonderful pick for them. Okay, number 9. We're moving on to Buffalo. This is the team that just they could trade and I wouldn't be shocked. They could pick, I wouldn't be shocked. They could go any which way. They could go defenseman, they could go
They
forward.
need it all.
They literally could go any which way. This pick is
Yeah.
wide open for me. But I'm gonna go with their center depth because looking at their center depth, it's just not there. And they need to build down the center. That's they're in terms of wingers, their wingers are actually legit. Like they have really good wingers. They have JJ Paterka. They moved Tage Thompson to the wing. So like, and you have Zach Benson on the wing as well already. Like it's loaded there. But listen, I have Roger McQueen going here at number 9. 6'5", another big guy going down the middle, 192 pounds. I have his figure up here right now. And the other thing is the injury concern with him. Like we talked about with Schaefer, he only played 17 games as well. So that's the big issue with Roger McQueen and why he probably is number 9 instead of being in the top 5 conversation, top 6 conversation. It's solely because of the injury concern. But I still think what we've seen with him is good enough to be a top 10 pick. And I think Buffalo makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, I another one of the guys that I've really fallen in love with this draft is Roger McQueen, even coming into it, and then he had a very, very explosive start to the season. 20 points in the 17 games that he played before injury. However, comes back, and in the playoffs, just a 1 goal in 3 games that he dresses in for Brandon. Um, this is one where, like you said, they need everything. And for that reason, I think they gotta go a bit safer to me in Buffalo.
Mm.
Because the McQueen injury concerns, and I believe it's his back. I mean, yeah, you look at like Caden Lindstrom, who Columbus took a chance on last year, misses a lot of this year too.
Yeah, he's looked really good in like the. I know he didn't play much, but
Yeah,
he played in the WHL final and he looked really good when he returned. He didn't play at all this whole season. This was the
yeah.
first time that he played and he looked good. So
So Roger McQueen is that guy this year. This is like I said, I think you cannot go to the Buffalo fans in 2 years and have Roger McQueen not being on the trajectory that you needed him to be when you drafted him. Because man, they just need things to turn up right for them. I like Roger McQueen, but I think here I am going to go with a bit of a safer pick. And you know what? Maybe Sabres fans aren't going to say this is a safe pick because I'm going to go Victor Eklund for the Buffalo
See,
Sabres.
I had him penciled in here until last night. I had him
Okay.
penciled in at Buffalo at number 9 until last night, and then I
What changed your
decided
mind?
the fact that they already have so many wingers, and the fact that if you just draft another skilled winger, what does that really help you down the middle for? Like I just that's what changed my mind. Not the fact that nothing against Victor Eklund. That's basically what I was trying to say. Is like Victor Eklund's a stud. It's just the team
Team
fit
fit,
to me.
positional stuff. Yeah.
Yes, like and you have Jack Quinn, you have Alex Tuck. Like I just pulled these guys up. Jason Zucker. I know like further down the lineup, but like the wingers are already set for this team, so that's why I can't justify putting Victor on this team. But I understand
Okay.
why you did it.
I I do get it to what you led with off the top, where it's like maybe this is a spot where if the draft played out in really either way that we have it right now, maybe this is a trade back spot because it does feel like McQueen is like next center on my list, and then there's some others afterwards, but it's like McQueen ends this kind of tier. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. For me it's just the McQueen Buffalo fit is a tougher one for me to get by. So that's why I've got Eklund. And honestly, just in terms of Eklund himself, um, this is a guy who I think really went toe to toe with Frondell on his own team this year. One of
Hmm.
them got regular ice time in the qualification round. One of them didn't, and the guy who did is Eklund. So you can do with that what you will. I can see some teams comparing these two, and I'd be very curious to see how many teams have one teammate over the other. This is this is Buffalo in terms of the sense of they need everyone. Just get the best guy that you think is available. That's it. So
Yeah.
that's who I've got.
Okay, moving on to number 10. For the Anaheim Ducks to round this top 10 out. Um, I have who you just talked about, Victor Eklund, going to the Anaheim Ducks. I think this is the perfect team fit for him. We talked about centers or the team fit. Buffalo not having enough centers and they having enough wingers. Total opposite here for Anaheim, where they have their number 1, 2, 3 set, with Ryan Strome being your number 3 centerman, Mason McTavish your number 2, and Leo Carlson your number 1 center here for the future. And you only have really, I mean, Troy Terry's a nice addition on the wing, like, but I would say second line, and Trevor Zegras as well, and then Cutter Gauthier, who had a impressive but underrated rookie season in my opinion, 20 goals, 43 points. And listen, this is the perfect spot for Victor Eklund to go into. I really think that. And they also have you gotta like they have some prospects on the way as well. Like they have Beckett Seneca from last year's third overall pick. I know it was a surprise pick, but guess what? He looked pretty damn good in the OHL this year. He looked really good in the OHL. They also have Tim Walsh, who's also a prospect who they just called up at the end of the season last year. So they have a lot coming, and it's exciting times. Like this team's ready to take the next step. This is probably their last. I'm going to go out on a limb, and this is going to be their last top 10 pick for the next little bit here. But Victor Eklund solidifies their winger group. And yeah, I mean, they might go sign big game Mitch in the offseason. We'll see what happens. And that might,
Well, then that fills their regular need then, okay? Because I'm
yeah,
gonna say, yeah, I won't flip flop with you here, and I'm gonna have Roger McQueen here because to me he is just the cherry on top of the Anaheim Ducks system in the sense that you laid it out there. How many times do we go into a draft and we play this game of they're not gonna take this pick because they're not gonna take this guy because they already have so many. Um, it ha- it happens at least once in the first round, I think, every year,
yeah,
where the team that you think has enough says no, we need even more. And I think Roger McQueen down the middle, the Ducks would add him just to say, like, just as gravy, just to give you so much insurance down the middle. God forbid anyone doesn't pan out, and it's way easier to turn a center into a winger than it is a winger into a center. So
Hmm.
if Roger McQueen does pan out, you got too much. You don't have enough room down the center. Well, congrats. You now just have a winger who can maybe dabble in some faceoffs sometimes. So I don't know. You look at it like national teams. A lot of the time, there's a lot more centers than wingers, and they're forced to the side just because of so much skill on a team. I don't know. You can look at it in that sense with Anaheim. I think this is one where, yeah, like it doesn't make the most sense on paper, but and I know you said like the wingers, the depth is still they could still solidify just a little bit more.
Yeah,
To me, at
they
10,
could.
I think McQueen can get in there, and yeah, yeah,
Um, it's very interesting though because we both ended up with the same top 10 players, but we ended up with different locations for them, which I think is very interesting considering, like I said, it's wide open.
yeah.
This draft, there's a lot of different possibilities that could happen with this. But it's interesting that we both have in the first round of this mock draft um, the same top 10 prospects going into it.
Do you have a real quick honorable mention? Just one
Yeah,
guy who like,
yeah. For 11, for
sure.
Pittsburgh, I have them
Well, not
trading.
even not just
I have them
okay.
trading the pick.
Yeah, okay.
That's
All right.
that's
That's not
that's
right.
why. No, I don't have an honorable mention right now. Um, there like I when I started this, I said like there's a tier between 1 through 8. I should have even said 1 through 10, because after that I feel like there's a drop off. Like after Roger McQueen or Victor Eklund, I think there is a real drop off in this draft. In turn, it's not like a massive drop off. Don't get me wrong. Like there's still going to be good NHL players. I think there's just it's not the same as the top 10 in my opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. I'd say the one name, and honestly, this would honestly be too much of a meme if he went at 11. It would be Brady Martin to Pittsburgh
Yeah,
for the Sioux
yeah.
connection. It would be hilarious if they don't do what you're saying in terms of trading the pick. But
I
I'm
could.
just curious where Brady Martin lands because he seems like the type of guy where if he ends up on like a team that can compete sooner than later, like that's the type of perfect fit for him. And Pittsburgh honestly isn't that, but there's just the Sioux connections.
I just
He just
think
seems like you could put him into a team and instantly have some success at the NHL level.
I will say this. I hope Pittsburgh does draft someone, but I just feel like
Yeah,
Kyle Dubas is going to trade the pick.
he likes to trade back, so we'll
Not
see.
only does he like to trade back, he likes to go for it. And he's got a centerman that's turning what 37, 38 years old in August. That has probably one or two more real cracks at this. Again, he Malkin on his last year of his contract, probably done after this year. I I can just see him pushing this rebuild for another 2 years and going full ham and trying to sign not only like trading the 11th overall pick, but then trying to go sign Mitch Marner and trying to go all in for the Stanley Cup one more time.
All right. I think maybe what he does with this pick tells us which direction he's going in. So
Exactly.
we'll see. We'll see.
Exactly. That this
Yeah.
is that's very factual. But yeah, that does it for this top 10 in our mock draft. Like we said, if you like this, if you want to see more of this, we do plan on expanding to the full 32. Probably won't have as much of in-depth analysis on every player, or every pick. Just kind of rattling them off as we go. But like we said, if you like this, give it a like, give it a comment. Let us know if you think the top 10 is actually going to turn out the way we predicted in our first NHL mock draft for 2025. And if you liked our content, please subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see you next time here on the Second Look Sports Podcast channel. Have a good day.